morning, everyone. Welcome to the Sunday Morning Conversations. I have a small group of people to hear today, and it's cold and miserable outside, so I understand that. And really, the nice thing about what I do, even though it's difficult, is that when people come here for help, I help them to help themselves. I do not create a bond, a codependent bond like all church people, with rare exceptions. You really don't have to go to church to get a message. Your message should be always, always with you. See, I wouldn't come for myself to be here, but I have to come to be here with myself, otherwise I wouldn't be here to talk to you. If you know what I mean. But I know you need some help. I don't. I don't. I got it. When you got it, you won't need me. And even though now, the idea of coming to church is nice. You can talk with each other. You can chat with each other. You can learn from one person can have an experience that another person say, I got the same thing. I see what you're saying. And that's always helpful. There's a camaraderie. That's what church should be. Not an addiction. If I involve myself with you or you involve yourself with me, it becomes codependency, very dangerous. You have no idea how dangerous it is to become codependent upon your preacher, rabbi, that you want to go to church and you want to go to synagogue and you want to go to your mosque, fine. But you cannot, you dare not become addicted. You cannot put the preacher on a pedestal. You can't put your girlfriend on a pedestal. You dare not. You're as good as dead if you do. And you say, this guy's crazy. Not crazy. I've seen what it does. I could be really nice to you. I could tell you what God loves you, and I can quote all kinds of scriptures, and I could be very entertaining, and I can do this. God, you know how they do it. Jesus. You know, and they do a little moonwalk, and you got a choir and a band and a whole bunch of people in front of you doing a jig to back up what you're saying, to sort of spruce it up. This is dangerous stuff. Nobody in that room will ever get better. Nobody in that room will ever be free. Now, this is not, what I'm saying to you is not new, because the politicians use it. They will create a codependency on you, for you. So many people love President Obama. They love him because they are codependent on him, even though they don't touch his skin. They don't know where he lives. They don't know what he does, but they love the sound of his voice. They love these promises, even though he doesn't deliver those voices. He doesn't deliver those promises. It doesn't matter. After a while, no matter what he says, you believe if he lies 1 minute and tells the truth the next, you don't know the difference. You just like him. He's likable. It doesn't matter what he says. Doesn't matter whether he dishonors what he says. He forgets what he says. He says the opposite of what he says. What you do, all you're looking at him is a pleasant face that likes you, as you are. And you'll do anything for that person. I warn you, if you got to be very, very careful of what can I mix the words with friends, like friends.
Association.
Yeah. there's a word that mixes. There's a word that will mix an enemy with friends. Yeah, but I'll find it. I'll find it in a minute. But friends can be enemies in disguise. And there's a name for it. I'll get for that lately. Yeah, because recently, if you read the one of the papers in London, you know me, I've got a memory, I can't remember what it is. But it always talks about nice, very interesting experiments they do with people. And one of the things, I just remember the information, not the paper. And they said that 50% of people who have friends, is the word, pardon me. Yeah. 50% of those people, they are so involved with their friends. See, friends. A friend is a fiend. See. So they're so involved. If the sound of their voice will cause their heart, just a mention of their name would raise the blood pressure. Just a mention, the presence or the mention of their name, blood pressure goes up. Excitement. They discover that. It's because they're codependent. Oh, here he is. Here's my love. See? So maybe you better carry a blood pressure machine to see if you're one of them. Because you're dead. You'll never draw the same breath as long as you live. Because because something in you needs a friend. And it's that which supports the fiendishness in you.
It's your validation.
Your validation. Yeah. So 50% of people in England, when they were tested, reacted that way. And then the same kind of thing happens with trying to sit still. Nearly everybody sitting in a room asked to sit still could not bear to sit still in a room, but they gave them a little shock machine that gives them a shock, and they would rather shock themselves than sit still. They have to stay. So these are the walking dead. And if you have a friend, I just want to put something, make sure you understand this. I'm leading to something very serious. Is how Hitler, Mussolini, Stalin, Mao Zedong, how they were able to control an entire nation. Hitler, all of them. And I'm laying a foundation for this. I'm laying about a foundation for the fact that you will not survive. Not you people sitting here. I'm not saying you people sitting here. I'm saying, I'm speaking through the people sitting here to a larger audience. My advice to a young man falling in love, I say marry but don't fall in love. If you don't fall in love, you won't fall from what love is all about. You ever ask yourself the question, fall in love? Love is a fall. You don't even notice it yourself, do you? When you fall in love, you fall from love. What love is all about. I am not in love with my wife. She's sitting here. She wants me to fall in love with her unconsciously. She's a woman. There's something about a woman that likes someone to fall in love with her, but then she gets to be the master. Then she gets to be in control. And once you fall in love with her, you cannot escape. There is no escape. It's one woman after the other one, or tolerate the one you got until she kills you. And it's the same with your president. You have become, the American people have become so feeble, so degenerate, that they have fallen in love with a dope pusher. Do you understand that? They've fallen in love and they cannot get away, and you cannot cure them. You can fall in love with a person or find a relationship with a person who's kind to you, and you find yourself not being able to say no to them. It's only because this person is a fiend, a friend. See? He's a friend. Now the friend doesn't mean not know he's a friend. People put me on a pedestal, and I can use my friendship to screw you so bad so you wouldn't have a dime in your pocket. I'd be very, very rich because I know exactly what to do. But I've never done that. I would not do that. I cannot do it because I want you to share with me what I have with you. And it's only because you have a weakness. The weakness of the woman is the weakness that Eve had, because Adam didn't put his foot down and say, put the fruit down. She persuaded him with language. And she took the advantage that the woman has. She had the knowledge of good and evil because she was closer to the world, to the realm of the world where darkness lives. And Adam was further away. She was the bone of his bone. See? And therefore, man is the order of things in the, ordinarily speaking, correctly speaking, man is in charge of his house. God is in charge of man. In those days, there was no Jesus. He hadn't been put forth yet. He doesn't arrive on the scene yet. That's for later on, for redemption. But to this day, because of that, every man born of woman is a friend. It cannot help compulsively by taking, that's the role she's born into because he let her get away with it. And the first thing that Adam did when, we're speaking about the first man and woman. There's got to be a first kangaroo. And another kangaroo. See? You understand that. You have to have a pair. You don't know how to do it any other way. Nobody I know knows how to do it another way. No. See? Okay. So even if you might do some stuff to it and make it become a kookaroo instead of a kangaroo, see, it would still need two kookaroos to make two other kookaroos. And besides, you can't create any life force. No human being can create one cell. You can play with all the different strings and God knows what goes on inside. But you need two. And you are the the descendants of those two. And women are born uncorrected. And they give birth to uncorrected men. They're both uncorrected. And all the misery and all the suffering on earth begins there. And each and every culture, you'll find the exact relationship, bitch and son of a bitch. It's a friendship. It's a fiendship or a friendship, that means friends. Anybody who has a friend had better watch out. And the only way you can survive a friend is to have a separation between the two. The only way you can survive your wife is to put a spiritual space between. You can still kiss and have children, but you don't linger longer with Big Red. It's the old saying. There's a advertising. I forget what it was advertising. I know it's gone, but you remember it.
Well, I'm only glad I remember it. Otherwise, we would think you were a pervert.
I know. But I remember that. And I always used to think it was very funny.
Because the big red gun lasts longer.
Yeah. What was the product?
It was gum,
chewing gum.
That's right. Well, let's have a little fun here. But you understand what I mean, don't you? See, because
Your grandchildren are here.
I know, but they're grown up. They're grown up.
I'm not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you pass the microphone?
Yeah.
Oh, no, right back. Yeah, he's been wanting to say something.
All I was going to say was, I thought Oregon received some obscene amount of money for education.
Say it again.
I thought Oregon had received some obscene amount of money for education. I couldn't understand how such a small community would receive such.
Yeah, but we're not. It's not on the subject.
No.
About Oregon. What about you? You didn't ask a question about you, so be quiet until you ask a question about you. Okay, I understand that's a good logic. Oregon receives a lot of, but it changes the subject. You see, you're a game changer, and that's not right. Ask your question about you. Ask the question about what do I mean by this?
Well, I know that.
No, drop it.
Yeah.
Just drop it. Or don't come back. Okay? I know you're here and you want to learn something. But you keep playing this game of leading us away from subject. I want to talk about the subject, and it's very germane. So, if you want to solve your family problem, it's a bit late. But you can have a big fight because your friend is not your friend. And she does not know she's your friend. She is seductive. She has all the possibilities of seduction. She gives you pleasure. She arouses the pain, and she creates the pleasure. Does she not arouse? Doesn't sex a pain of some kind, and then you relieve it? And she arouses that, and irritation does that too. The tendency is that you tend to want to be irritated, and then you get the pleasure. Vents. Same thing as a sexual variation. See that? So, and each time you gratify that system of things, you are dying just a little bit, and it takes a long, long time. God is very patient with you. And to the degree that you multiply that process. Now, with full knowledge of forethought, nearly all the people tested, the minute their friend comes into the room, or the name is mentioned, blood pressure goes up. Excitement. Oh, there she is. Isn't she beautiful? Oh, isn't he angry? One way or the other. It works the other way too.
Man falling in love is like looking for somebody to validate him, and it's in a way a reflection of what he thinks he wants to be. So the woman looking at this man pretends that he is what he isn't. The man believes that, and he sees himself in that light.
He doesn't know he's pretending, though. You see, the thing is, he's actually fallen.
Yeah.
The drug addict has fallen to someone who will complete a sense of worth, relieve his feeling. You see, so he has a longing for the love object, and the love object has a longing for his life force. Therefore, women steal the life force of men. And that's the reason why there's hardly any men in America. The good ones have gone to war, and the good ones are dying, and the ordinary people don't really care. The average American does not care about the military. The military families care about their loved ones, but it's always, thank you for your service. That's all I can tell you. See, it doesn't mean anything. People only are fascinated only what makes them feel better. They're self-gratifying individuals. They want to be gratified. There's another experiment. It doesn't have to be an experiment, because actually this is well known, that if you delay gratification, you have a man and a woman. If you indulge your children with gratification, they grow up to be nothing. I mean nothing that can not even get to be something if it tried.
I was fortunate not to be given a lot of material things.
How many people are like this? How many are fortunate enough to have waited for gratification? How many people actually enjoy gratification? I don't. Nothing gratifies me. I'm grateful for not being gratified.
This
See?
gratification brings to mind something that I did as a child. I got a roll of candy, and previously, if I was given some candy, I'd just eat it all.
Yeah.
Well, the thought said, well, why not? I'll just eat half of it and put the other half in the drawer. I'll have some for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, that candy that I left in the drawer, that just kept bugging me until I went there and ate it, and it was okay. Then it was over. It was, and I even saw what the heck caused that.
Now you see temptations behind the candy bar.
Yeah.
Can you believe that temptation sits, in a sense, behind the candy bar, but it's really in you? It's behind the candy bar, but it's inside you, behind the candy bar. See, once gratification begins, your life is over. You're only going to be looking for gratification, and gratification begets gratification.
Yeah.
That is what temptation is all about. And this country is bloated with self-gratification. That is the decline and fall of a country. We're almost gone. And so now how do you do this? Well, first of all, you create a crisis, especially the economy. Because the economy is where you get your money, where you can gratify yourself. See? And the economy is actually going to be a good thing. But it's meant, you see, the communists, the Marxists know that the boom and bust of the economy serves them well. Because you when the economy is good, you have everything you want. You gratify. Now you set the stage. Now you remove the economy and you diminish it so that it gets worse and worse and worse. And each person is gratified, needs to be gratified, starts to get impatient. See? That's it. And they start to get irritable. And so they get irritable, then they can gratify themselves. But what do they gratify themselves? Sex. That's cheap. They want more sex. And the woman also can't help herself. And he starts demanding. See, so, but even when you have gratification, you take advantage of that. Because once you have that first candy bar, it doesn't stop until, as you grow older, you want to gratify in every way, every little feeling you have, you want to exploit it and gratify. And so what you have is millions of young people, easily manipulatable, dissatisfied, wandering the streets, not being able to be educated properly, nor does the system want them to be educated or teach them rules of the road, so to speak, the road to life. And so, if you look at the teachers in the schools, if you look at the government, they're gratified. They have everything they need. They earn twice as much as the working man, see, and the working woman, so they can have anything they want. And so they're loyal to that which gives them the gratification. And then when we don't have much, we smoke pot, and we steal, we cheat, we don't want to work, we take advantage of welfare. And so therefore, through largesse, the government and they're getting bigger and bigger, the gratifiers and the givers of gratification, it's called welfare. And the more welfare there is, the more you give them, the more they want. And they don't even know the meaning of words. All they know is the meaning of gratification. And so much gratification they have, but gratification is not enough. The money they get, they eat too much. They're all fat and ugly. They're all sick, so they need help. But help is gratification. Welfare is gratification. Medicine is gratification. Yes, doctor. Thank you, doctor. It's service. It's rising to the occasion of their needs. The greater the needs, the more they want that gratification.
It's temporary, and afterwards it's dry. So you're looking for more.
Yeah, because you don't know what it is more of anything.
Yeah, it isn't where it's supposed to. You're not where you're supposed to be.
Now, people don't know that. They just feel like entitled. Of course, the people at work, now we got 23, what we have in this country is, since Obama was in, we have 23% of people who don't work, who have lost their jobs. But that you add the 40% of Americans who are on welfare. Mm-hmm. You've got 63% of the country being supported by, what is it, 37?
I don't know the figures.
Yeah. That's 100%. So there are only 37% of us that work. That really work, and even we're gratifying ourselves. Mm-hmm. We got frustration. We have sex behind, then copulating in the alley. There's no end. There's no place where it ends. It will consume the whole society. And these little bastards called Marxists, right where they are, they understand exactly what they're doing. They're going to take away all your gratification, or give you gratification, but it's never enough. And when it's never enough, you want to look around, you're jealous of other people who seem to have more. And it doesn't seem fair that they should have more gratification than us. They don't understand, they have no idea what work is. And these people can be stirred up. And that's what you're seeing right now. What's that city that just recently? Ferguson, yeah. But it's happening all over the country. But it's not happening all over the country. There's hundreds of people, thinking that the police are too bad. But what you got is violence. You got violence because you're doing all of the illegal things. First of all, you do it legal. And if it's illegal, you make it legal. There's so you got pot. So you vote in pot. And if you haven't got a pot, you go to the doctor and he'll give you a pot. See.
They found out in California that these people that are on the pot now, that they've legalized it over there, are now getting onto the welfare system. And it's not enriching the state, it's making it more broke. Yeah. It's just not working.
Our country's finished.
Yeah.
But you see, these people know about what I just said. And you, by mistake, you in your ignorance, excuse me, my audience, I'm sure you understand me. Yeah. I've discussed this before. I'm talking to an audience outside here. So you'll forgive me if I'm just too brash, okay? But by human nature, as you call it, the fact that you're born in sin, as I mentioned, you're born into a world which grabs hold of you. It grabs hold of you in a Hitler way. It grabs hold of you in a Chinese way. It gets hold of you in a Muslim way. It gets hold of you in a Christian way. And you develop friends. And because there's an emptiness in you, having coming into a culture which is violate you, culture violates you. I'm a cultured man. I have manners. I know how to say please and thank you. I know not to take advantage. I know how to take a lady across the street. And she'll say thank you, this is nothing. I know how to help you and not expect anything from you. But to give what I need, do it because I want to do it. And if you want to help me, that's nice. That's not gratification.
That's grace.
That's grace. And it's your grace and my grace.
Yeah.
And we do not entangle each other. You give freely, so I walk away, you walk away.
Yeah.
You've given it.
Yeah.
Right. That's all. But the thing is, when people do not what love is, and when you go to church, you think of love in a different way. You want people to love you like God loves you. And unconsciously you set up a person to play God. Unconsciously. You look for someone to, with eyes that light up and say, isn't he wonderful? See? And you play the role to get that. Or you don't play the role to get it, but you get it anyway. Someone puts you on the pedestal. And you feel better. You feel, well, at least somebody loves me now. I guarantee you've gone through this. How many people have gone through this?
It makes you want to drink or wash it off afterwards. The phony love. I grew up with phony love because I was taught as a kid not to be honest with people. And every time I was in a social setting, I was punished. And so it was all phony. And it was like church. I associated church when I was growing up as phony. And it was like, so
you could take out of the pot instead of putting
What's
money
that?
into it. You can take money out of the hat instead of putting it in.
Well, you know what? It was fun. That's another thing. It reminded me of it when you mentioned that. My mother would send a check to the church, and so with the hat passed across, she wouldn't put any money in it. And I felt this terrible embarrassment of how it was appearing we were stingy. And it was like, I remember that feeling.
Obligation. You feel the pressure.
Obligation, stingy.
You
It was
feel
like,
the
how do we
pressure.
look? We look like we're stingy.
But you don't find that here.
Yeah. No, I don't.
There's the donation box. It doesn't make much because mostly I speak to people out there. But you know what? Because they're not here, they don't put money in. They want to be seen to put money in.
Yeah.
They feel obligated. So I
Yeah.
give a nice talk. I help them. And 1,000% of the people do not give money, but they watch me. I've got hundreds of thousands of people listening. And, I get 5 or 6 people put money in. 5 or 6. Now, I do get their donations, don't get me wrong. But in that instant where I'm giving a talk, and I don't like to ask for money, you see. Mm-hmm. It should be natural, because I'm a helper, I'm a healer. I give my services completely free. And so therefore, if you want to be grateful, but not gratifiable, see, grateful gets rid of gratifiable. See.
Yeah, you're saying it because, I've been looking at myself, and I could trace all the way back through the timeline of my life how my life went, and I haven't had sane thoughts for most of my life. It's been one thing bouncing to another, and it's all around, yes, gratifying yourself. You're caught up with anger, you're hating somebody, and then you're bouncing around to get something that makes you feel good after that. And my life went through this from early on because I really had a bad upbringing. I had a real insane family. And I learned really early to try to escape from everything. And but the more you escape, it's like it doesn't solve
how do you escape? You escape through gratification.
Exactly.
You cannot escape without gratification. Gratification is the escape. It's not walking away and then having nothing. You have to have something. You need someone to give you something. And then you're king. Then you have tribute. It's giving you something free is a tribute.
Right. Right. I thought I was taking care of myself because I wasn't getting it from anywhere else. But I just became...
Yeah, but you were gratifying yourself.
Yeah. I was becoming selfish. Incredibly selfish.
But you don't look selfish. I don't think you are a selfish person.
Well,
I think you are a beautiful man. I really do. I don't think you know how beautiful you really are. When I say beautiful, I mean like comely like a woman. I don't say handsome because you're not handsome. But I had to use some way because you're still fat and ugly. But I have to play with you just a little bit.
I got you.
Put a little levity here. But you love him, but you took advantage of him because he's needy, right?
I also hooked into his faults. And you know that.
What was that?
Well, even when he was trying to get well and better, I was so homed into his faults, and I'd attack him for them. I've always seen myself do that in our marriage.
You're irritating him.
I did.
You irritate him, and then you give him the reason you gratify the irritation.
I tried to shake the right thing out of him because I could see where he was going wrong, but I always knew he was a good guy, and I couldn't understand why he, it took a while for him to...
But something inside you was irritated with him because he doesn't satisfy you. How does a man satisfy you is by not gratifying you. Mm-hmm. In other words, you're crying to be gratified. You're crying to be loved, right? Mm-hmm. But you're crying to be worshipped.
Yes.
You're crying for attention.
And I didn't see that about myself until about 3 weeks ago.
And you've been coming for years. But he does not know how to do that. So he gives himself to you.
Yeah.
And but when he gives himself to you, he's gratified, whether it's sexual or otherwise. It doesn't make what it is.
Where he goes wrong with me, if you don't mind me saying so, he's very kind to me and he's very fair.
Yes.
And I'd rather he put his foot down more with me. I mean, he does. He doesn't more so
to
now,
put
but
the foot
more.
down to the gratification.
Right.
But in order to do that, he can't be irritated.
Right.
Because he has irritated, he has to relieve it. And he has to relieve it by giving you something, and you say, oh, thank you.
Right.
And you're looking for the thank you that says, I'm somebody.
Right.
He caters to me because, well, when you were growing up, you had to cater to your mother, his mother so much. His mother set him up for that. And I kind of took on, I have much of his mother's.
Role.
Yeah.
She took on the role.
He's very kind to me, and I don't know, I know I need the strictness.
Well, you see, now, there's certain kinds of people.
Yeah.
For instance, you may be a woman, and maybe you have people that work for you. They do things for you. And they do nice things to you, and things for you, and nice things for you. And you think, oh, these are really nice people. And then they give you a bill. Let's make something up,
sure.
Right? And they give you a bill. And it's reasonable. And every time you have a need, they're right there. Mm-hmm. And they do it. And you start a little business, right? Mm-hmm. And so there they are again. And so then they give you a bill and you pay them and you give them a pay. Now, when I started, let me just add something here. When I started in business and sell things over the counter like diamonds, I would make my sale, but I feel embarrassed to ask them for the money because you don't ask money from your friends.
All right.
You ever get the feeling?
Yeah, I understand that.
So, see, because I got friendly, I got too close. I didn't put a space in between. See, that space in between has to be your marriage too. So what he needs to do is that when you irritate him because you want you're involved in a fiendship. See, fiendship, like a friendship, right?
Yeah.
So you tend to irritate him. But what you really mean, you're irritated because he doesn't love you. He only loves you he feels your gratification.
Right.
And even if he gets mad, let's say he gets mad and angry and wants to hurt you, that's still gratification.
Yeah.
You see? In other words, you can judge him. And the judgment, it gets complicated. It gets very complicated. It means to judge him for being angry and mean makes you feel superior to the angry and mean person. And all you want to do is feel like a king making a judgment. It deteriorates into very slovenly, dangerous situations. See?
Oh, yeah.
What you really need is him not to react at all. Then he doesn't get an irritation. When he doesn't get an irritation, he doesn't give you anything because he's complete. And because he's complete, you still want something from him. Mm-hmm. And so you love him. So you give him sex. Let's make something up. You say, it's it. But he still it's normal, natural. You've given it to him. But afterwards, 10 minutes later, he's still not. He turns over and goes to sleep. And you want more of him. You want him to cover up and be with you. What you'd be doing is drawing the life out of him. Am I correct?
Yeah.
You get up in the morning and you drive your car and you can't stay on the highway.
Right.
Ever been that way?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, damn right.
Yeah. I would notice times where I know she would ask me, like, for lack of a better word, stupid questions. And it was just purposefully because she wants my attention.
That's
for no other reason.
For no other reason.
Yeah. And
you get irritated.
I get a little irritated with
and
that.
So I'm just talking to myself. But you're not talking to yourself, are you? But you see, you're typecast.
And those stupid questions, they're from compulsive thoughts in my mind. That it's like they're like a vent.
But that's the dark side of you wanting to play that role.
Right.
Yeah,
You ignore that.
Yes, then I start thinking, well, if I give more attention to her, maybe I'm satisfying something to her. But then I notice I get drawn in, and then I don't feel like.
And you get weaker.
And I get weaker. I just see it. I could just feel like.
And then how can you get your strength back? You've lost your real strength that God gave you, and all of a sudden you start getting irritating. Now you got the animal strength.
Right.
The animal strength is irritation.
Right.
And irritation has to be relieved. You're sick now.
Right.
Now you need someone to love your sickness.
Yeah.
And you give more of what life force is.
Right. It's just the wrong path.
Now I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, when you have sex, just for one, get over it. If it lasts 35 seconds, get over it. Go to sleep. Otherwise you get the clinging, and you see it on the movies, and you get up in the morning and you can't drive your car, and you fall asleep before you get to work.
It's disgusting. It is disgusting.
Because the woman tends to suck your life forces.
Yeah.
Just draw them. You feel secure.
All right, don't go too deep on it.
No, it's something that's deadly honest. Something no one dares to talk about. See?
Yeah.
Deadly honest. And then all the different things you do to set it all up.
Yeah, it's
Right.
nonsense. I have to tell one thing. When we first got married, I came home one day, and there was all these candles that she lit all over the house, and I walked, I walked in the house and I looked around. I said, "Well, who died?" And then I realized that later on it could have been me.
I like. Don't you see? This is educational.
Sex education. My kids already have it.
No, they haven't. They haven't. They're just going to fall into that pit just like everything else. Nobody survives it. Nobody survives it. But the trouble is, when you understand, when you're a communist or you're a socialist or you're one of those left-wing slimebags who indulge in perversity and filth, they do. They laugh at you if you're virtue. They look at you as nothing. But they look at their whores and their whoremongers as friends. It is a horrible conspiracy. And so I just want my audience to understand your extreme left are perverts. And what you got in this country is a war between perversion, and you see the schools are full of perverted teachers and perverted professors. They're all missing something. They all want something from the kids. They want to rob them of their virtues. They want to educate them and educate all the virtue out of them. And this is what's happening. They understand this at the top. They've understood this for years. And if you look carefully at the union teachers and then the movie stars, you can see filth is being peddled as virtue. Now I want you all to understand this. I'm not just saying this because I want to be entertaining. I want you to see this as keeping ace. The reason why Obama got elected twice is now your downfall. Because you are so feeble, you have been so confused, so confounded, you got so enamored with an entity that rose to the occasion of what you need. Because by the time Obama came into power, you have had 3 generations at least have become degenerate perverts and think it's normal. And when you go to high school, the only reason why you go from 10th grade to 12th grade, because the sex is there. And sex is like shaking hands. And there's no commitment, no love, no caring, and so what we've got is 80% divorce rate, between 70 and 80% of the divorce rate, and the kids are running the streets and smoking pot, have no values, and all they're looking is for gratification, and when they don't get it, they get violent. Your husband will get violent if you don't give him. Your wife get more violent if she doesn't have a way. See, I try to tell my wife, I got a distance between you. That distance is not rejection, but it feels like rejection because you can't have your own way. She does not know I love her more than I love her, but there's no feeling in the love. I'm dutiful, but I'm not dutiful to the idea of dutifulness as understood. See, I have a distance between you and me. You are my friends, but you're not my friends. If you want to do something nice to me, I say thank you. But that's all you get. I really do thank you. It's really nice of you. It makes my life easy. And I in turn make your life easy. But then you don't overthank me. Unless you're rich and you want to give me more money, okay, it's different. I understand that. If it's 1 penny, it's proper. If it's just the widow's mite, it's proper. Because it's from your heart. It's from your heart. I've always given from my heart and not expect anything in return. If I want to give something, I want to give it. I don't feel important in giving it. I don't feel important to say, oh, thank you.
Yeah, I think we should all remember that. Once you're, if you choose to give from your heart, it's really charity. But if somebody forces you, it's tyranny. It's really a.
Well, you've got to be careful of the word charity. It's just an awkward word.
It is, but you know what I mean. If I want to give and help somebody, it's my choice, and I.
Yeah, but you're like an apple tree. You grow apples, and if you didn't give the apples, you wouldn't be apple tree. Simple. The birds get some, and the people get some, and so on and so forth. So, but there's something about humans that are different from animals. We have love, and the more love you have, the more you give love. That is to give without wanting anything to return. What did Jesus say about to love those who love you?
What profit is it?
Wow. And then how many people understand Scripture? They just walk right over it. And then he gives an example. Don't thieves and robbers love thieves and robbers. They actually make each other worse. Mm-hmm. So every time you love someone and you love back, you're worse. You're addicted to that person, or that person is addicted to you, and the one that's addicted to you is the one that controls you. So if they're addicted to you, you control them. And slowly but surely, they become a tyrant. And slowly but surely, you raise a tyrant to be loved as a whole nation. And he will play you till you're finished. And so now what you're seeing is he's creating a war. He's giving more and more iPhones to people and people who have no jobs and they're on welfare. They have flat screens TVs, and they don't do any work. And then they kill the babies because sex is no longer sacred. You want to kill them. So there's 50 million babies murdered. And then now you want to open the border and you want 50 million people to replace who don't know what they're doing. So you have displaced Americans, and the border's over. And now you have a Marxist president, and because you're so feeble and need love, and you're so angry and needful, that you're afraid to speak up. You're afraid that you may lose your job if you say what you see. And so you stay silent. And since all of you are just the same as alike, you all have your weaknesses, you have your social problems, you have your economy, you don't want to lose your job. Yes, if you would be marching the streets and burning down the streets, but you wouldn't be burning down. If you would just march the streets the way they did in Ferguson, but without violence.
Like
if
they
the
did in
country,
Selma,
yeah, that's right. If you could march those streets and say, we want to get rid of your president because we see, but we made the same thing twice. We already had the pull. We had the pull of his promise. And it feels like you need to give him another chance to give us what we want. And so we give him the benefit of the doubt. And that's the end of your country. You are not going to survive. You are not going to survive. When Marcy was the Brotherhood, when he took the presidency over Egypt and started slaughtering Christians, did you really notice that Obama gave him 1,000 Abraham tanks? Did you not notice?
Didn't hear about it.
No, you didn't hear about it, did you? No. It
nobody's
was news. It
reporting
was one day news.
Yeah.
So 1,000 Abraham tanks.
Abrams,
Abrams tanks that can destroy 100 tanks by itself.
It's impossible for a human being.
Yeah. Okay. Also, God knows how many hundreds of fighter planes up to date. And all of a sudden, the army jumped in and threw him out. So it backfired. Now Egyptians are friends of Israel.
Good.
So in other words, it backfired.
Good.
But you understand if you saw that, you see where his loyalty lies. Don't you see? But you didn't see it because it was announced and there was not a big thing made of it. Now we see our country falling apart, and we're all smoking pot, all copulating in the alley like dogs, and so it doesn't matter. All that matters is our pleasure. And so we have a pleasure island. That's all we have. And hey diddly lee, an actor's life for me. See that? And the government's getting bigger because the problems need to be solved. And the more that you solve the problem, the bigger the problem becomes because you give the wrong answer. And when you bring the wrong answer, you got more problems. When you got problems, you run to the occasion of your need. The dope pusher rises with the wrong answer. And the more the answer he gets, the bit more he needs, more he loves the pusher. And you can't tear him away from the pusher. And when the person who's, let's say your wife is running a business and your wife has fallen in love with, not fallen in love, but so happy what that person does for them. And all of a sudden she feels like she's being well represented. And she whole the business depends on these people doing. Then you find out they're not doing anything. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, but you can't say no. Because you've developed a friendship that you got too close to them. See that? So when they give you a bill, you can't say no because you don't want to hurt their feelings, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's become trust, but you're trusting the wrong people. Now I have people I can trust. They give me their word. I give them some money or whatever it is. I'll take care of that. I don't even need a handshake. Do you see the difference?
Yes.
Because I know the person and they know me. And I have faith in them, in a trust. Now, I wanted to tell you something about faith. Because faith is reserved for God. And if you don't know the difference between one another, that is where you go astray with your fiendship. See that? It's fiendship. And that's how you go to... In other words, what you do is actually you put your faith in them. And when you put your faith in them, you have nurtured a God. In other words, what he's playing is God. And God likes you. God... You're the God maker greater than God. You don't know you're the God, but what you do is reward them for all the good things they do. Pretty soon they do less and less and less, and pretty soon they run away with your wife. Pretty soon they run away with your business. Right? Mm-hmm. Because you've trusted them so much, they're taking advantage behind your back and you don't notice it. And one day somebody says your bank account's gone. Mm-hmm. What? What you've done is put your faith in a person, but the person is connected to the devil. And that's how he wins.
That's part of leaving your responsibility behind. That's
but then you've got the word responsibility.
Yeah.
What do you have the ability to respond in the right way?
Yeah.
So we need to understand the English language. Mm-hmm. We need to understand that falling in love is falling from what love is all about. Don't fall in love with a woman, ever. Don't fall in love. Love her, but don't fall in love. Who understands the difference?
Either being a dad or a big brother.
Yeah, don't fall in love with your children.
Don't be your child.
Don't try to please your children. Don't be too harsh for them, of course.
Yeah.
But let the kind of love you have just be natural. If you want to give something, I gave 100. I have a little my granddaughter. I just pulled out a silver bar of 100 ounces of silver.
10 ounces.
Yeah,
10 troy ounces. There's a big difference.
Was it? It says 100 on there.
No,
10. 10 troy.
Oh, I did. Was it?
Yeah,
10?
100 is a lot more.
I meant to give him 100.
No, you didn't. That'd be a brick.
Well, it said it says 100.
You want to give it $1,700?
No, it's too late now.
The moment's gone.
But anyway, whatever it was something I wanted to do.
Yep.
I just did it. I took it out. It's still worth, a couple $100.
It'll go back.
Yeah. Yeah. But the thing is, I just didn't know what to. I gave it. It's a birthday, and I'm glad you corrected me that. Thank you. But I give because I want to. I love because it's free, and you don't have to do anything back for me.
Yeah.
But you would have to understand one thing about faith. You have to know the difference between faith and what's the other word? Faith and trust. Trust is business. I give you a job. I trust you to do it. I watch you. You do good, and still watch you, and you do good, and good stays, or you do better. I promote you. Okay. But if you do bad, I just fire you. I give you another chance, or fire you. Now, I haven't done anything wrong. The person gets ticked off. He doesn't understand what his problem is. He does a lousy job. But I haven't broken a rule. Trust is for people, faith only for God. Now, if you put your faith in somebody, if you fall in love and fall from love what it's all about, then you've made that person God. And behind that God, that person is Beelzebub. I'm telling you it's real. And if you look at every home, why you have divorces, 70 to 80%, and children are running the streets and saying, if that's what marriage is, I'm going to shack up. See? Is that what discipline is? Because after all, you don't know what discipline is. The father is giving in to the wife. The father was giving in to the wife, and the kids are not being taken care of properly because he's too busy taking care of her. And all of a sudden he sees he loves her more than them, and he gives her more than them, and say, why isn't he treating me that way? Do you see that? And then they begin to hate each other, and then one becomes like the mother and one becomes like the father. And they do the same things to each other because the anger opens the doors. It must be understood by all of you here today, and all of you listening to me, you have been made very feeble by excesses and the failure to delay gratification. You delay gratification. You know where I get my strength? I get my strength from coming from a very poor family. But I never felt poor. The difference is, I didn't know I was poor. I only knew I had $1. Or I had $3, and I gave $2 to my mother, and I worked. I gave $1 to myself. And she had a little bit extra, and we made it. Then I had to go to the military, and then the money disappeared. So I think I got, if I remember right, I got 2 years in the military, and then they discharged me so I could take care of my parent, my mother.
Yes.
So there was a hardship there. But the thing is that once the gratification begins, it never stops. And once you break a person, once you break their spirit by putting condoms on bananas, when I heard that, I thought to myself, I almost fainted. No, you know about this.
Oh,
You all talk about it. It's just.
I went through sex education when I was young.
Yeah.
I didn't have that quite extreme.
But no one stood up anything.
No, it was like we weren't ready for it. I realized, hey, I'm
But
not
that
doing all
shock.
these things. It's like, why are they telling me this?
No, but the whole idea is to shock.
Yeah.
You know how you got bathing suits where women wear strings in their butt?
Yeah,
Yeah.
G-strings.
And it's not a cover,
Yeah.
it's a string.
Yeah.
And well, they might as well walk around naked.
It's in-your-face sexuality is what
It, no,
is.
what it is. It's called shock.
It's shock.
See, now you got to understand how shock works. Shock puts you in the state of needing to gratify.
It also puts you in the state of doubt.
So some smart guy did this. We had bathing suits, modest. That's appropriate. All of a sudden, somebody gets the idea and knows exactly what he's doing. He creates this model, see, and he puts it on display. Some media situation, and all of a sudden, it's all over the news, right? And everybody looks at this and gets shocked, right? But it's a pleasant shock for some men. It's and also a pleasant shock for some women who want more power. So it's not, but even if it wasn't a pleasant shock, shock works. See, if I come up to you and take you by the face right now and whack you out, that's a shock. What's he doing there? He's a minister. See, and everybody sitting in this room, if they're the ordinary perishable or perishable. Yeah, if the parishioners will sit there and watch me smash him, and they wouldn't do a damn thing. Right?
They'd be zombies.
Yeah, that's America.
Yeah.
You can see the country being torn to pieces, and you're so passive, you're so dependent upon pleasure. It doesn't matter what happens to everybody else. It doesn't happen to the country. It doesn't matter that soldiers are dying for you. You are responding to shock, and shock converts you. It makes you submissive to shock. It makes you helpless in the face of shock. See that? Mm-hmm. It makes you the shocker. Mm-hmm. You can play that role. And slowly but surely, the person who is shocked becomes like the shock source, right? He doesn't do the help. He doesn't rush to save anybody, but he becomes what he hates. He turns around and shocks somebody else, and then that person shocks is either going to be an appeaser to the shocker, to make peace with the shocker, or he does that, but as he gives his life force up to the shocker, to gratify him, to have peace, which is what you want. That is gratification, right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't last long
with him.
Because then he wants more. Mm-hmm. And then the more he gets, the more he wants, because he's now becoming addicted to the life force that he's getting from you that he lost to the other person. That goes up the scale, and now it goes down the scale. Now you turn around and you get irritated and you get no energy, and you got antsy. So you have to shock somebody and give you pleasure.
It's Nazis Germany, basically.
What you have is a whole country with a small number of people who are not affected. And the small number of people are good people, but the small number of people that's left is not good enough, because they're not intuitive enough to know how to fight. There may be, let's call them Christians, really decent Christians. But really decent Christians mean well, but they got a wrong kind of preacher. Love means go along with your enemy and love your enemy. Kiss your enemy. Go along with your enemy. Appease your enemy. And so that's how Christianity will fall. It doesn't mean to take up arms. But I tell you what, the greatest number of military are Christians who understand both. They know that you are fighting evil, and you just can't appease ISIS. You cannot appease Hitler. If you do, you embolden him and weaken yourself. Now that principle applies to everything. I've covered the whole waterfront. So right now we've got a person who is allowing the appeasement. He's not doing anything about ISIS. He is making friends with all the wrong people that support him. It doesn't matter about what happens to America. He wants America completely disabled. The borders are left open. He's driving away our friends. He's drawing to himself the enemy. The enemies of America. And we're sitting here, all gratifying ourselves. We all got some kind of gratification. We got our TV. We got our various pleasures, right? We take it out on each other. We fight each other. We get divorced. We get caught up in the justice system. There's no justice at all. There doesn't exist a justice. They give all the children to the women, and another guy brings up your children, and you get frustrated for fathers who are not fulfilled in their lives, and the kids need fathers, but the mothers are the ones that are going to ruin all the children, and the government is going to support that. You've lost your country. You're not going to get it back. I want to cover close in from that. You are not going to get your country back. What's happening now with the street demonstrations is all distraction for what's about to happen. It's a big distraction. That's not the issue. When it comes to the last issue, you saw what happened in Ferguson. The governor did not send the troops. He wanted that. But it's the same as Benghazi. Some orders went out and said, don't send the National Guard. Right?
Yep.
There it is.
Yeah,
got it very carefully. Now the young man just recently, I saw the video of the person selling one cigarette in the street. He's not committed a serious crime.
Yes.
What the man did, what you didn't see, he resisted arrest. All he needed to say is, here.
I saw that. And he was.
And no, there would have been nothing else.
He was 400 pounds, and these cops were just little people trying to.
Well, what they want is mob rule. What they want is the police to be fearful of protecting us.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
That is very true.
So therefore you have, and if that happens, if the police give in to that, you're going to have more riots, and you're going to have civil war. Then you're going to have to take up your guns and take care of yourself. And then all of a sudden the borders are open, and in come the enemies of our country. And we're not only fighting each other, we have to fight them too. And what's that? The value of the dollar is now worth 0.3 cents. So you better get some gold. If you have any more gold, if you have any money in the bank, get rid of it and put it in gold or silver.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the silver thing I gave to her is better than just money.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's real.
Now, I'm giving you the whole story. You're done. And unless this discussion goes out, it's all the schools, it's all the university. If I wanted to take over a university, I could do it.
Mm-hmm.
See, I'm a smart aleck. I am street smart to the point where I could get an education. I could get into those universities, because those people who love the knowledge of good are the professors, are the most ambitious people, and they want degree upon degree upon degree, and they want to be looked up to. Of course, as they are, but I don't look up to those people. They're all knowledge and no common sense. They're no match for me. I didn't write this. I didn't write my script today. I just sit in this stool and began to talk to you. I can go for hours and hours, filling all the different details. telling you exactly what's going to happen in every different department. All I have to do is watch little pieces of the muse and catch what you don't. I'm not looking for all the noise. I'm not looking for everybody's opinions. All I'm doing is watching. I'm watching. Catch something. There it is. There's the temptation. I'm looking for the temptation. I'm looking for the game. How you're being played. Then I know every trick in the book, and then I learn a few. But what you've got in your Senate, that's the House in question, right? Mm-hmm. Is they're not, these people there, most of them are not Democrats as you know them. They are not communists, it's too good for the word.
Hardcore Marxists.
No, they're Marxists, and they're going to bring down your country. They're going to make sure the money is spent on the useless things and privileged, and make everyone who is vulnerable privileged. And the privileged one owe their allegiance to him, very strongly so. If your husband or wife gets caught up in someone who seems to be friendly and loving, you'll lose her forever. You could lose her forever. Not for me, though. No one's going to get away. I guarantee you I've got some plans ahead for people that do that. Not plans, I know what to do. I rip them a new rear end. But I would do it in a special way. No force. Just with psychological warfare. I know how to play psychological warfare.
Cast doubt in their mind.
No, I don't. No, I don't do anything of the sort.
Okay.
They can do as much wrong to me, and I don't react. Then I sit at the table with them as if they're their friends and talk to them. And I am their friends. I'm not past the judgment, no matter how much they stole from me. I can sit at a table and talk to them without being angry and saying, goodbye, nice knowing you. Your troubles will now begin.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the troubles are. I don't say what they are. I leave it to their imagination.
Yeah, it says it in the Bible. Yeah. Vengeance is mine, and it's
vengeance
God.
Is
God
mine.
would be standing behind you.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Or I may not do anything,
yeah.
and not be bothered.
Yeah.
And they be troubled because they can't bother me, because that's their pleasure. So I rob them of the pleasure. That's all I need to do by not judging them. Or I can do something if I want to, but only if I'm guided to.
Yeah.
Only if the wisdom guides me. Now I want to speak to you about one thing. It's language. So, how can I say this? You have a brain with gives you speech. And so you've got to be very careful about that precious aspect of your life. I'm speaking to you without preparation. Never will I prepare, write down what I want to say. If I forget it, I just forget it. Something more important steps in. So the Bible says speech, the mouth, is like a rudder. It could lead you to the rocks. It also says what's in your heart when you speak. You can't have salt water. It's like a fountain. You cannot have salt water on fresh water, correct? So the question is, when you start to speak to anyone, whatever you say, is it salt water? Because it's who you are that will come across, but you won't see who you are. You won't see the mistakes you're going to be making. You won't see the harm that you're doing because it's so natural. Something is speaking through you. You're actually not rehearsing it, even though you have a lot of rehearsal because you said it enough times and it's effective. God said. But still, it's still originating. But you could lose your memory. You could be angry enough to affect the chemistry of your brain. and the chemistry of your blood and the immune system and all those things. So it could go much further than that. But it also, during the course of your life, your misery comes out of your mouth. And it wouldn't be miserable if it was sweet water. And the sweet water comes naturally to me. I'm speaking to you with sweet water, right? There's no salt water. But if you take a preacher and he's written something, that's salt water. He's making sure he doesn't offend anybody. He's making sure everybody loves what he's saying. But no one has to do what he says because it's all verses and chapter very carefully. It's not from the soul. There's no speaking from the soul. Neither is any speaking from the soul when he says goodbye to everybody and shakes hands. How are you, Mrs. Ponsonberry? How are you, Mrs. Cherry? How are you, Mrs. Orange? And how are you, Mrs. Fruitcake? You know. The thing is, all he is sweet and nice and finished. There's no knowledge at all. We are void of knowledge. Those teachers in the school, void of knowledge, all they got is what they told, and it's all socialism, communism. And the smartest teachers on the left, and not so much on the right. If you have a Ku Klux Klan, yes. But most of the people, you can have common sense and intellect. The intellect is the vocabulary that the soul uses to express itself. So you both have intellects, but it depends upon who is speaking through that intellect, and what choice of words are shared, what it pulls off the shelf. When you lose your memory, as many people do, it's because of anger and hostility and fear. And the thing is, you begin to see that if you ever lost your memory, as you start to lose your memory, you'll see that this memory is a wonderful thing, this ability to speak from, I don't know what I'm saying next. I say the strangest things. You see, like Big Red. I always remember they come. I can never forget it. I don't know why it was stopped selling. Should have sold a lot more. See, so the thing is, I can't help myself. It's just part of my humor.
Yeah.
It's a little bit awkward, but I'm not your usual.
It gets the point across.
It does.
I understood it.
Any questions? But you understand your country's gone.
Pretty much. You got.
And there's no men.
Yeah.
And the men are all in the women.
Yeah, they're the children of the wives.
Yeah, they're into the women.
Yeah.
That's all they are.
Yeah.
And they're all either violent for the women or they're weak for the women, but they're not men.
If you're married, you got to be businesslike. And can you imagine somebody owns a rental and treating their tenant like their best friend and never getting paid the rent? Very similar. You've got to stand back and be distant and also be businesslike.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with the people that's working for you. They could be playing you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And if you like them too much and they've given you favor and they seem to be doing such a lot for you where nobody else did it before.
That happened to me. I was using a temp guy.
Anybody happened to you that way?
It was like the guy was, being my buddy, and one of the other workers said, "Hey, do you realize that every time you turn your back, this guy stands still?" And I seemed to be getting really frustrated that day because nothing was getting done. And I found out about it. I told the agency, I said, fire this guy. I don't want to see him again. I told him what was happening. The other guy, I gave him full-time work at the time. So he's my friend.
So you see that even in your business, even in your relationship, you can't say no. How many of you can't say no to somebody? Right now. Why can't you say no? Because you need their love. You need their support. You need their friendship, which is friendship. If you can't say no, you are a slave.
I'm realizing I come all the time. I've been coming for a long time, and I had you on a pedestal until
I
I
never
got.
asked you for any money, so
I
you're in
know.
good shape.
No, and when I got to realize, it's not you, it's what's coming from you that I'm listening to.
Yeah.
And then sometimes somebody will say, well, what did Roy say today? And I says, I don't know, I can't remember. And a day or two later, I'll say, oh, that's what he said.
That's the way it's supposed to work.
And I understand that.
Yes, that's the way it's supposed
I
to
do.
work.
I do.
Something stuck there.
And it
And
did.
you didn't know what it was, but God held that for you.
Right.
That's right.
And I'm fortunate for that. And every day that I get up and I can breathe and walk around, I thank the dear Lord. I thank Him that I can come here. I thank Him for you. My husband introduced me to you in the 60s when we were living in Boston.
That's when I first started.
Yes. We had your big record. We had all the tapes and things. But I never really got to listen to you till I moved here 20 years ago. But it's because of him that I am here today. When Stuart and Margaret were talking about their marriage and stuff, I was like that with my husband. I wanted something from him he couldn't give me. Like you said, Ann wants you. I says, why don't you give me gifts? Why don't you do this and that? He says, you don't need them. You don't need them. So I got very angry about that.
Sure.
I did. And I resented him. And then I became a bully. He was a good man, and I'm realizing that. He's been dead now for 32 years.
And you killed him.
And I'm realizing
Did you
that now.
Did you kill him?
He died of a heart attack. He
Yeah,
was a young man.
You killed him.
I did. And I did that to my son, too.
Yeah.
And my son died.
I want everybody to understand that woman killed her husband, and you women do the same thing. But the men deserve it. You understand you deserve to die because you don't get any balls. Yeah. Pardon the expression.
Yeah.
Or cojones.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is.
Yeah.
When you listen to a woman, when you are subject to that woman and want to please her, you're as good as dead. Because God is the head of man, and man is the head of woman, and woman is the head of the children. If that order is not because he's strong, not because he's mean, not because he's demanding, is because he takes no nonsense and is calm with the no nonsense. He is not. He knows that the women have a problem. He knows the children have a problem, and he knows that they understands the nature of the woman, and the woman needs to be corrected. Corrected as many times as necessary, even if it lasts 100 years. And not be moved, and let her get frustrated and make sure she doesn't take out on the kids and stand between her and the kids and put her aside. It may be a huge job. Getting married is a huge job. It's not paradise. It's paradise lost again. It's a rerun.
There's a heroic man in Ferguson who's actually turning things around. He's a black man. He didn't say a word. All he did was go outside and start picking up the trash where these guys had rioted. And before you know it, other people joined in and helping him pick it up. And the media wanted to find out, who is this guy? Where is he from? Well, he's a Marine combat veteran.
That's right. But you know what? How many people think, listening to me, I'm picking up the garbage too?
Yeah.
I'm trying to reach all the garbage, because that's what America's become, a land of garbage.
Yeah. There was a guy on a black minister that was on Glenn Beck's show, and he talked about the black community failing their children by passing the hatred
And
on
he,
to the
and he
next.
gets criticized for it.
Yeah, well, he's basically he put out a YouTube video, really good, and he said that what you're doing is you're passing on the hatred to the next generation of what didn't happen to you, and it may not have even happened to your parents, but you're passing it on. He says you people are failing because you won't let this hate go. I'm not saying it very well.
No, but the point is, the important details of what I told you today should be headline news.
Yeah.
It should be headline news. It isn't. It's all suppressed because you have years and years and years of reporters. What do you call them? Reporters, media people, been indoctrinated in the schools, and we know, and we used to be on guard against communism, but slowly but surely that went away, and the Senate got filled up with them, and the schools get filled up with them, and we should never, you know what, Putin is not going to allow us to have radio programs and teachers coming, becoming like us and speaking for freedom. He's not going to allow that.
No.
We should not allow those kinds of people to come into this country, but we're stupid enough to do it.
We're trying to be fair.
Yeah, trying to be fair and trying to be Christian-like. You got to keep keep people at bay because they'll take you over, because they know they're dark people and they know how to spread the misery and suffering. It's their forte. Okay. So let's finish early today.
Okay.
This will be a nice radio program. I think we have nice discussion and go home early.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate you because even in this small group, you got it. So now, when your husband does not pay attention to you, but likes to fiddle with your cars instead of fiddle with you, don't be jealous of the car. Let him enjoy it and then take you for a ride. Do you understand that? That's how it works. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I mentioned graciousness. Part of what I have done this evening is given of myself, and I don't know who you are. There is a little sign underneath, I'm sure, we need support. I'm sorry to say most of you ignore it. And you listen. Maybe 100,000 people listen. And yes, it's free. And those of you who are appreciative, all I can say, grace is the appreciation of grace. Appreciation is half of it. If you become great, if you appreciate my grace, then you are gracious. You're thankful. And that makes it a complete cycle. I don't want to pass anything around. I can't. I won't. And I still survive. I don't survive like I should. If everybody was gracious, this country would be a different country.
You would be able to help more people. You'd be able to help more
I
people.
would help more people.
Yeah.
Thank you, my friends. Have a nice Christmas.
And I don't have a lot of money, but for those who want to know, this thing you're watching on television would cost about $5,000 a week for this building and the productions, and I donate every penny, don't ask for a dime, and so if I can do it, you can do it. Okay?
Yeah. He just roasted.
Thank you.
But he's right.
Help people while they're out there.
It really is nice. We wouldn't have this if it wasn't for him.